Well, as Martha mentioned, scouting is about making good choices. I met Steve Wilcox. That's why I'm here. So we don't always make the good choice, do we? Steve asked me to be here. How many know that you don't say no to Steve? Yes. How many know you don't sit next to him at breakfast? First grade, my parents made some choices themselves as well. They decided to have 4 children, 3 boys and a daughter. 3 boys born 1 year apart. Yes, you are men, most of you. You don't understand what that means. The women in the room understand what that means. That's a poor choice. So they thought, well, we better get them out. Yeah, the men are like, well, I can still mow the lawn and do that, you know. So they thought, well, we have 3 boys, we better get them out of the house as often as possible. So Cub Scouts seemed to be the way to go. First grade, joined Cub Scouts. All 3 of us at first grade, boom, right into Cub Scouts. My mother was a den mother, and then right on into Webelos, and then right on into Boy Scouts. In Game Haven Council down in Rochester, Minnesota. Any Rochesterians here? Yes, I knew. And we had 120 boys in our troop. And that's an army, frankly. We were a sight to behold. I was a patrol leader, and each of the 12 patrols had 10 boys in it. We had a senior patrol of the boys that were too old to still be in a patrol, but we didn't want them to leave, so we found leadership opportunities for them. Then you moved on to assistant scoutmaster, junior assistant scoutmaster, on up. Every Thursday, 120 boys would meet for the big meeting. And we would learn valuable lessons, which we quickly forgot because we were boys. And then we would go camping. 1 weekend every month, year-round, camped. Rain, snow, sun, shine. Our parents got us out of the house. At the end of every meeting, it was time for dodgeball. You haven't lived until you've seen 120 boys. And the scoutmaster was smart. He didn't play. He would just stand in the middle of the room, a very large gym like this, and he would grab 2 rubber balls and say, go. Then he would leave the room. And that's smart leadership. Let us figure it out. Now they call it dodgeball now. We grew up and we called it murder ball. Because we really didn't care about each other's health. It was really about entertainment value. And at the end of all of that, the tradition was we would gather in one large circle, and we would do the cross hands. Hold the guy's hands next to you with your arms folded across you. The lights would be turned out, and in the dark, the scoutmaster's booming voice would come out. And it would be a different message every week. And here's how important that was. I remember one of those to this day, word for word. I'm 52 years old. I remember him saying, in the dark, trust. He'll be there. He said he would. He'll do the job. He promised to. We can count on that guy. Gentlemen, good night. And we would leave in silence. My career is spent teaching people now as a keynote speaker and a trainer lessons that if they had learned as a young man, I wouldn't be paid as much as I'm being paid now to teach them. When I teach team building, a lot of it has to do with trust. Does that sound like any of our rules? When I teach leadership, it's how to forge your own path. When I became an Eagle Scout, they said, now you make your own path. When I went to college, I didn't want the typical degree. I wanted to study what makes people laugh, because I knew humor would be a large part of my career. Surprisingly, the Minnesota State University in Moorhead did not have a degree program in laughter. So I made one up. I grabbed 2 special advisors, and we spent months putting together a bachelor's curriculum to study the psychology of humor and how laughter works. I actually have a degree in comedy. My parents were so proud. Their response was, well, we have other children. We'll count on them when we retire. That led me to form my own business. And now, out of anyone in my family, I'm the only one who can't get fired. And people ask me, where did you learn these lessons? I didn't learn them at school while I was learning to read and write and the quadratic equation, which I couldn't tell you what it means now. I didn't learn these anywhere. I learned them every Thursday night, standing in a circle, holding the hand of the boy next to me, listening to the message of that booming voice in the dark telling me, these are the qualities that are going to help you succeed for the rest of your life. When I watched a movie just recently, it was The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise and Ken Watanabe. You've seen that movie? At the end, the hero, the samurai, is lamenting the loss of the samurai culture in Japan, and he turns to Tom Cruise and he says, "The ways of the samurai are not necessary anymore." And Tom Cruise says, "A life spent of honor and service, what could be more necessary?" A life spent of honor and service today, what can be more necessary?